All right, everybody, welcome back to the Best Damn Training channel on YouTube. We are back at the track, week 7 of this summer of speed program, and we've got a lot of work to get done today. So I'm gonna rearrange it today a little bit just because I wanna see if things feel different by putting the depth jumps at the end of the session versus having them at the beginning of the session. So what the plan is gonna be is start off with the sled sprints, and then we're gonna do some 20s, 30s, and 40s without a sled. We'll time everything today. We'll get the same 10-meter splits on everything. And then after we're done sprinting, we're gonna finish off with our 4 sets of depth jumps and see if that makes any kind of difference in how the sprints feel. But then also I wanna see if we can maintain quality on those depth jumps by putting them at the end of the session. And if I can, then I think I will keep them at the end of the session because the priority of the track days is the track session. And I think part of the reason why last week was a little bit more difficult in terms of sprinting overall is the fact that I was doing the depth jumps prior to a lot of the sprinting. So doing 40-ish depth jumps prior to doing some sprinting is going to be pretty fatiguing. So if I can maintain the quality on the sprints and then also maintain the quality on the depth jumps, then we will do that at the end of the session today. And if I don't feel like the quality of the depth jumps is gonna be there, then we will do it first thing in the weight room tomorrow prior to doing any lifting. So I know that will be not a problem because that's generally how I used my depth jumps in the past, is I would just do them prior to any lifting I would do for the day. So I'm going to set up the sled. We got 4 sets, 20-meter sprints with the sled. We're gonna do 10 kilos on the sled, and then we'll get into our unresisted sprints after that. All right, we're gonna start knocking off 20s without the sled today. So 4 reps on these total. I have a feeling the first couple are gonna be pretty dirt, and then we're gonna probably get much better on rep number 3 and 4. So we're gonna go ahead, get set here, see what rep number 1 is. Well, 281's a PB on the 20, so I guess we're doing pretty good so far today. All right. Oh. Well, power just went out. Or, no, the power didn't go out because the scoreboard's still on, but the lights just went out. All right, I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see this rep or not because I won't be able to tell until I go edit this, but because of the significant difference on that last rep there for the 20s, I'm not gonna do my 4th rep and I'm gonna go straight into the 30s. So I got 3 30-meter sprints to do here. I'm gonna do my best to try to sprint in the dark and not hurt myself. I got some skylights over here, being able to give me a little bit of ambient light, but it's actually kind of dope. You can see like the blinking lights with all of the, oh, we got some light coming back on, but you can see the blinking lights with all the cones going on. So that's pretty sick. But all right, let's see if the lights come back on, but we're gonna start busting off some 30s. All right, we got some lights flickering. It looks like things are about to turn back on. And just as I said that, they go back off. Running in the dark. This will be people on Instagram who love to give themselves personal bests on stuff. This will be my 30-meter personal best in the dark, no light PB. All right, we got the lights still trying to come back on, but 387 for that first 30 is not too bad. That's usually my quicker-ish reps. So I think a 384 is my best 30 ever. 387 is pretty damn good. I feel like what I need to do is just kind of open it up a little bit more from 20 to 30, because I hit 21.1 miles an hour. And if you guys remember from last week, the goal is we're hitting 22 miles an hour this week, no matter what. So rep number 2 for the 30s here. All right, a little bit slower on that one, 390. Put us down to 20.9 miles an hour. So we need to reverse that. 21.1, 20.9. We're gonna go back up into like mid to high 21s here. I can feel it. Another thing is, if you guys have followed this channel for any period of time, you know that I'm kind of not anti-science based. I believe in the principles of science-based training. I don't believe in following it to a T. I think the research behind a lot of science-based training is great. I think you need that, but I also think there's a lot of fluidity within that that is going to be variables for person to person, here to there. So science-based training isn't something that I would consider myself a person that follows, but we're gonna introduce some science today. And we're gonna do a little bit of our own science-based training, and we're gonna introduce a variable. We're gonna see if that variable makes an impact on the result. So what I'm gonna do is, I have 3 milligrams of nicotine right here. I'm gonna pop that in, and we're gonna see, does nicotine make you run faster? That's the experiment we're gonna run right now. We also still have the lights very slowly coming on, or at least they're on the field. They're just not on above me like they normally are on the track. So I'm hoping the video, when I edit this, comes out where the lighting is at least good enough so you guys can see something. .389. Science right now says trending towards positive impact on sports performance since our previous rep was a 390, but we'll do another one. But one thing to notice is the top speed was a 21.51. So even though the time was only 100th difference, we got significantly faster in terms of overall miles per hour. So 20.9 to a 21.5. I think the science is saying nicotine makes you run fast. So 388, faster again. Ooh, 21.72 miles an hour. So I was able to hit 103 on that last 10 there. All right, we're gonna start doing 40s now. I got 3 of these, and then I feel like I'll be fresh enough to do some depth jumps after this. But 3 40s, trying to maintain that high 21, hopefully sneak into the 22s in the next 3 reps here. .498, and let me put miles an hour on. 21:30 from 20 to 30, and actually got slower from 30 to 40. .489, so a lot better rep, and we got much better 30-40. Went 104, so 21.51 miles an hour. So good improvement. Take a full rest here, and we'll do one more. I'm sitting here resting and looking at that last 40, and I just realized I ran a 279 on that first 20. So the way I have my cone set up is I've got 0 to 20, and then 20, 30, 30, 40. 279 on that is pretty fucking fast. And I just, what's the difference between the first two? Yeah, okay, so first rep I went 285, 105, 108. Second rep I went 279, 105, 104. So I was able to push through and accelerate through 30 to 40 much better. I just realized I almost dropped a 10th. For some reason I was thinking it was like a 498 or 499. But yeah, okay, now it's hitting me. 279 is another personal best on that 0 to 20. So whatever I did on that one, it worked well, felt great. But yeah, I went 21:30, and then I went 21:51 on 30 to 40. So I'm liking what we see here. Full rest, and we'll do one more. Yeah, so it got a little bit slower, but still a good time. Went 278 on the 20, so again, hit another PB on the 20, and then 106, 106, so 21.1 miles an hour, 490 on that rep. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the depth jumps to the first thing I do tomorrow when I go to the weight room, just because my legs feel good, but it's starting to get really crowded in here. There's kids all over the place. They're playing around with some of the equipment, and I'd rather have a little bit more of a controlled environment to focus on the training rather than just trying to have to get through it and feel like it's almost a little bit rushed. So overall today though, I think it was a spectacular day. I think even though I didn't hit the goal of 22 yet, it's on the way. I can feel it coming, because even as I'm running through those 40s, I feel like I'm still a gear down from where I can be at. So that should put me up to 22, 23 miles an hour if I'm putting everything together the way that I wanted to. But the most promising thing right now is that 20-meter time has gone down significantly. My previous personal best on it was a 2:82. And during that last rep there on the 40, I was measuring the first 20 and it was a 2:79. So we're getting significantly faster over the course of that 20. Now, a 2:82 to a 2:79 might not seem like it's that much of a difference, but you got to take into consideration the distance at which you're making these improvements. So making a couple hundredths of an improvement over the course of 10 or 20 meters is a significant difference versus the course of, like, let's say we're running a 400 and you run 1 minute flat on one rep and then you run a 59.97, right? Over that 300ths over the course of a 400-meter race isn't that significant in terms of improvement, even though it is an improvement. But when you're looking at like a 282 go down to a 279 over the course of just the first 20 meters, I consider that more of a significant improvement. So the acceleration work that we focused on a lot up to this point right now is paying off. And now we're transitioning into focusing a lot more on the max velocity stuff. And what I generally find is about 4 to 6 weeks of max velocity work is where I really start to see improvements. And I've got, even though I want to hit 22 miles an hour right now and start seeing some really fast numbers, I got to also remind myself this is the 3rd week I've been doing max velocity work. So that adaptation needs time to occur. And now we're going to be getting into the later part of max velocity and making these flying zones a lot longer and working on a lot more volume and a lot more intensity on the max velocity. That should create adaptations where we start seeing more 22 mile an hour and more consistency on that, and then even seeing that bump up a little bit closer to 23 miles an hour. Tomorrow, we'll go in the weight room, we'll do the depth jumps, we'll do some trap bar lifts, we'll do some accessory work. So we'll cut it off for today. But other than that, man, today is a great sprint day. I love the way that today went, and it's very promising for things to come in the next coming weeks. But I appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.